Grand Rising loves. So this is Friday. Friday is the day ruled by Venus. And so, oh, good, Lisa, I'm glad you're here because I'm going to mention you. Okay. So Friday is the day ruled by Venus. And as my beautiful sister reminded me, Venus is in Taurus and Venus is at home in Taurus. Venus is the ruler of both Libra and Taurus. So Venus energy is not only about love. Everyone thinks that Venus is the goddess of love, but it's also the goddess of abundance. So it's also financial opulence. So really be aware of how you observe those energies in your own life, your relationship with that energy in your life, your relationship with currency, your relationship around love, but most especially starting with the self-love. And remember, the greatest level of self-love is not editing. Like being unwaveringly your authentic self in all company and in every environment. So the day before yesterday, I didn't get on yesterday. I shared my own spread and my own poll because Spirit told me to, and we talked about obedience. And so, yes, receiving. Thank you, Lisa. It's very yin energy. And thank you for reminding me that because one of my cards today is yin. Anyhow, I shared my own spread because Spirit told me to. And I am also unwaveringly obedient. And obedience is very important. If you are going to align in your life, especially if you are on the spiritual path, obedience is paramount. Obedience to your intuition, obedience to the guidance that you receive. And if you are obedient, you actually take that into your discipline. And discipline is not a rigidity. A lot of people, when they hear the word discipline, they think it's rigid, it's black and white, it keeps you in a box. Like, for instance, being celibate or eating no meat. And no, that's not my path. That's very rigid, and rigidity will never allow you to flow. So no matter what restrictions you put on yourself, saying, this actually elevates me, I'm going to ascend, I'm transcending because of blah, blah, blah. No, you're not. You're regurgitating something that someone else told you, because if you were really accessing your own wisdom, you don't teach that way. And Spirit's been telling me a lot about that also, to share what I know, but to also reiterate that what I do know and my wisdom is not from any following. I do like to read a lot, but for those of you who have had conversations with me, you'll ask me, oh, have you ever read this? And I'll say no, because honestly, I haven't. I don't tend to follow a whole lot of spiritual teachers. And I'm starting to find, like, I'm glad about that, because a lot of the spiritual teachers people did follow, like, almost in this guru type of worship in these spiritual teachers, they're being exposed to be like charlatans. And it's disheartening, but here's the thing. You can say anything you want to say if you know the vocabulary, but do you have an understanding? And there's a quote by Albert Einstein that said, if you can't explain what you know to a child, then you really don't know what you think you know. And yes, there's lots of deceptive energy. And so what I usually found is, like, the higher the number of following for some of these people, the deeper the bullshit. And because I've had also conversations with some of them, and I'm like, you don't really know what you're talking the fuck about. And it's my intuition that tells me this too, before I ever even have a conversation with them. And it's interesting that they'll actually want to have conversations with me. And I'm like, why are they even in my inbox? And then I get it. I'm like, I get it fucking now. I get it. So yeah, But I will say the people that I do follow, like Lisa here, and I'm going to mention her when I get to the card. Lisa knows her shit, and I am so intrigued. So when you truly align, when you are aligned with the Spirit's guidance and you're obedient, there are no overlaps. No one is doing what you do. And it's amazing because there's so many powerful psychics that no one's doing what they do, but they feel so competitive with other workers out there. And it's like, well, then you're really not confident in what you do. And maybe you're not obedient to Spirit. If that's what you think, that you have to, that you feel like anyone's on your coattails or whatever, maybe you're not doing what the fuck you're supposed to be doing. But anyhow, like, I'm so intrigued with the posts that she's been doing about the planets, because I've always said, like, one of the greatest life hacks I'm learning is really learning your own chart. And I'm trying to move into that too, like kind of smooth out my path a little bit. But anyhow, the day before yesterday in meditation, I was told to share my own spreads. And it was uncomfortable, but I did it. But I got a lot of feedback that it was good to show you how I actually dig in to the cards that I receive. And a lot of the stuff that I received actually resonated with others. So I'm going to go with that, instead of doing double work where I pull for myself and then pull for the collective, because really I am the collective. And if you're on a spiritual path, you understand that. And thank you, Doug, for saying very true. Love that. Okay, so the sacred geometry that I received today was Golden Spiral. And the Golden Spiral, like I said, I will always share the beautiful shell that Doug gave me from the heart of Yarmany. And all of you that are on here probably have heard that story before, how he bushwhacked his way into this really remote space on the Yarmany mountain range and braved mountain lions, slept out under the stars with his firearm on his chest, and thought, I'll bring one of these back for Sherry. That's pretty badass. Thank you for surviving. The Golden Ratio talks about the connection of everything that is from the very center of Source. That we are not separate from Source, that we are actually Source, and there's a perfection in everything that exists. So I love that because it showed up in the upright for me. So it actually, for me, it's a great synchronicity. So I've been doing a lot of deep meditation at night. My nightly meditation, because it's so deep and I'm kind of like, I call it highly meditated, where I'm really like kind of stoned after the meditation. It's not a good idea for me to do it in the morning, and I recognize that. I do very grounding meditations in the morning to prepare myself for the day. I shield myself because of all the adverse energies trying to get at me right now. So that's my morning, but my evening, I go really deep and really cracking myself open and bringing myself to the void, finding the void within myself. And so I love that the Golden Spiral showed up, because really that's an affirmation and a validation that Spirit is really watching me, that it sees what I'm doing. And so when I get a pull like that, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I'm doing it. So when you get pulls like that, it's really good. Always be aware, is it teaching you something or is it affirming something? Because in your own personal pulls, it's going to do one or the other. It's either going to guide you or it's going to like give you the pat on the back, and both are important, because it's like, okay, I'm calibrating, I'm aligned, I'm doing this. That's what synchronicity is. And the yin is the feminine energy. Okay? And this is what Lisa just talked about, Venus. Venus is a very feminine energy. Taurus is and which I am. My sun is in Taurus, and Venus is in Taurus right now. And even though my Venus is in Mars, which is a very fiery Venus, she's at home in Taurus. And so in that aspect, and I believe Lisa told me this morning, the moon is also in Taurus. So I'm like, okay, all right, I can understand. That's why I slept extra long this morning. So I get that. So that's good. And it totally made me understand that. I'm like, all right, I get it. So yes, allowing myself to recuperate. And the yin is about that. Let someone else make the first move. Let someone else do the action. Yin is about the receptivity of being feminine. It is also in the divine allowance. And I love that word, allowance, right? I am allowing, the divine allowing. I am allowing everything to occur that is meant to occur. So a lot of people think of the word surrender as very threatening. It's like, oh, you're like throwing in the towel, right? That's surrender. Or you're weak, or you're giving up. No, surrender is about letting yourself be 100% receptive to everything that is meant to be. Yes, and it will square Mars tonight. Yes, thank you, Lisa. And when I listened to your voice clip twice, I swear, and I was like, okay, this is significant. I have to hear this again. So thank you. Definitely significant, because I know that those energies, I'll be feeling that. And thank God it's Friday, because I'll be able to sit in that energy tomorrow for sure, for sure. So yin is telling me to be receptive. And I'm like, okay, this is a good reminder for me that even though I run my own business, I am self-employed and I am doing healing work, really the most important aspect of my healing work is creating a safe container. And that safe container is more about my stillness than about my action. So I love that the yin card showed up, because that's really when I am my most powerful self, is in my stillness. So again, bringing me back to my primordial self, bringing me back to source, and recognizing that there is no separateness, that I am actually source in that stillness. So that's the cohesiveness now we're seeing, right? And so labradorite is the stone of transformation, but it says magic. And when I pulled this card, I said, okay, I need to mention magic. So magic, divine energy is magical. Is it magic? No. Divine energy are gifts that are sacred. Everyone is born with intuition. Not everyone is born psychic. Okay, it cannot be taught. This is an endowment that comes from divine source, and not everyone has that. Everyone has a purpose here, and not everyone is psychic. Not everyone is a mechanic. Not everyone is a chef. So there's that, but everyone is intuitive. Our intuitive self has to do with our earth suit and our connection to each other and everything that is. That's intuition. So whenever I describe the differences, I say, okay, like you're gonna go stick your key in the lock, right? But someone's hiding behind the door and you're like, ooh, I'm not gonna go in there, right? You are in the same energetic space as that happening, and you're like, I'm not gonna go in. That's intuition. Before you go to sleep at night and you're like, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna go. I'm not even gonna take that road tomorrow. And I actually need to call so-and-so. And then you find out like the road caves in. That's psychic. Okay, that's not even being in the same energetic space, and you know it, and you know things that you don't know how you know or why you know. You just know you know. That is psychic. That's not intuition. Intuition is that it's the spidey sense. It's the feel, like, ooh, that's intuition. Everyone's got that. Everyone got that. And the more connected you are and the more present you stay, it fine-tunes that. So it can actually seem as if you have magical gifts, but it's something that we are all endowed with. And the human experience is like miraculous. But magic is a completely different energetic realm. This is not talking about that, okay? Magic is the facade of gifts. Magic is what charlatans resort to when they are not endowed with divine gifts. but they want it to appear so. And it's a completely energetic, and it is not divine. And you can feel it. You can feel it. It's the same as porn, okay? Seems magical when you watch it, right? Wow, they're having an orgasm. But no, it is not sacred. You are witnessing a very faded, deceptive, false version of the thing that is most amazing. So it's the same idea. Okay, so labradorite, though, is a very powerful stone of transformation. And hopefully, good, I got it. I was like, I hope I can hit the light just right. Look at that flash in this labradorite palm stone. And these are the palm stones I use for my healing sessions. But it's a very, at first glance, it just looks like, nothing really fabulous. And then boom, that's the magic of labradorite. That depth, that copper and gold and blue, turquoise, green underneath of that dark exterior. That is magic. And these are divine gifts of Gaia. They are my allies in my work environment. And so labradorite is a super powerful stone of transformation. When you are on the fence about something and confused, labradorite will remove obstacles. It's almost like that Ganesha energy. It removes obstacles for you to move into what you need to move into. That showing up for me says, okay, Sherry, there's something that you need to see that maybe you're not seeing. So whenever I pull stones for myself, these are the stones that I use for that nightly meditation that I talked about when I'm doing breath work and that really deep void work, the meditations that make me completely stoned and then I go to sleep after. Yes, it brings huge clarity, but it also is an obstacle remover. Like if there's something that you're willy-nilly about, like maybe cutting something out that's no longer serving you and you're feeling maybe a little guilty about doing it, labradorite will cut that shit out like with a swiftness. I actually had this on my person the day that I put in my notice at the clinic when I was working in medicine. And when I got home and emptied my pockets, I was like, oh shit. Okay, I will not carry that on my person again. Even though that was the very best thing, but I was scared about doing it. I was scared about leaving medicine. I was being a chicken shit, but I had a raw piece of labradorite and it was probably spirit that totally made me subconsciously put it into my scrubs that day. And that's the day I gave my notice. And I never looked back. That was 2016, y'all. And I honored my true path and I'm doing what I'm doing. So Lasya de Parvati showed up, and she actually showed up for me the other day. She represents the Tridevi, the joining of goddess energy. So it's the goddess of Lakshmi and Saraswati, and these are the goddesses of abundance and the goddess of compassion and goddess of love. And so showing up for me says I am actually moving into a transformation of grace. So which I'm happy about because I've been doing a lot of fucking heavy work and it's been like pretty brutal what I've been moving through actually since the last full moon, since I did the sweat lodge, honestly. And I've talked a little bit about that. It's been pretty intense, but I've been like unwaveringly obedient to spirit. So seeing this card, it was a nice exhale because what this is telling me, like, okay, you did the work, we've seen it, and now we're going to reward you. And I'm like, okay, good. I deserve that. I do fucking deserve it. So, like I said, every day I pull guidance. And so Michael showed up. Now, Michael showed up yesterday in a different deck. So I have 3 different Ascended Masters decks and Archangel decks. And he showed up yesterday too. And like I said, I've been feeling adverse energies trying to get at me. So I love that he showed up because he's like, you are protected. And he is the guardian of the South. Archangel Uriel is the guardian of the north, Archangel Gabriel is the guardian of the west, and Archangel Raphael, the guardian of the east. So I'm very honored that he showed up again to tell me that I have nothing to worry about. I'm being protected, and I love that. And then this card is what prompted me to contact my beautiful soul sister, Lisa. So if you can see her screen, give her a follow. I always start typing the word sweet because it is sweet, but it's got 3s as the E's backwards. But her name is Lisa Magana, Lisa Sofia Magana. And I'm totally intrigued by her planetary work. So I actually texted her because this card has now showed up for like 4 days running. And so whenever a card repeatedly shows up, I always dig in deeper. What am I missing, right? So Labradorite will probably help me with that tonight too. But what am I missing? So I will tell you, if you do not pay attention to that, like if a card repeatedly shows up and you're like, oh, you get cranky, because in the past, there was this card that kept showing up and it said, stay focused. And literally 2 weeks in a row, I got this card and I removed the card from the deck. And that particular ascended master showed up in the other deck. He was like, nah, bitch, you're going to take me out of this deck? I will show up in this deck. So I was like, all right, I'll be obedient. So you cannot run. If spirit is trying to give you messages and guidance and you're asking for it, you have to take what you're given. Like, you can't then say like, oh no, I don't want to hear that. You have to really dig in. So moon cycles, Archangel Haniel showed up. So I was like going from every angle. Okay, I'm looking at the moon phase. What is the moon phase? I'm looking at the moon signs. What are the moon signs in? But then I contacted Lisa this morning. I was like, what am I missing? And she's like, oh no, it's got all kinds of trines and sextiles going on right now with the moon. And I'm like, oh my God, like mind blowing. So we can reach out to our sisters. And that's why if we're aligned, we're not doing what anyone else is doing, and everyone becomes an alliance. Everyone becomes a team member, because we can't know all the things, but we become the expert at what we're doing, what we're supposed to be doing when we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. When we're aligned, we become the expert. No one is doing what the fuck we're doing. And so we can reach out to our sisters and say, I see that you are also aligned, and I am so in awe of what it is you're doing. Can you like give me a little bit of guidance? Because I think that what I'm missing is maybe the exact thing that you have the wisdom on. Yes. So Lisa says, if you give me your moon sign, I'll post something for you later. My moon is in Virgo. So, and our moon is how we process emotion, for those of you. I mean, I dabble a little. I don't know it all. I dabble. I just know that our moon is how we process emotion, and maybe Lisa can like elaborate more on that. But my moon being in Virgo, this is like when I'm my most emotional self, and when I am my most stressed self, this is how I process emotion. I process it like a Virgo. And the high side of Virgo is like I organize, which is totally true. When I am my most emotional self, I tend to nest, and I tend to organize, and I tend to research, which is actually not a bad thing to have as a moon sign. It keeps me pretty fucking organized. So I try to stay out of the persnickety, like self-critical energy of Virgo, which can be very self-deprecating. But I do see that pattern in the past me, like the old Sherry, like decades ago Sherry, where I literally wanted to like destroy myself when I would get upset. But anyway, collaboration. Yes, that's a good word. Thank you. And King saying yes. Thank you. Thank you. So, and then this card showed up. So for those of y'all who have been following me, know, like, y'all know. But anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about Twin Flame, because this is Angus, the Twin Flame card. Now, there are some psychics out there that profess nothing but Twin Flame. And I'm going to say, no, that's full of shit. They don't know what they're talking about. Not everyone has twin flames. Please know this, okay? Twin flames is a very intense energy, and not everyone has that. Twin flame is that at the actual moment of inception of your soul, it was separated into two. So you are actually one creation separated. That is twin flame, okay? And when you are not in one body, it is very intense. Your path is very intense. And if you ever have the pleasure of actually meeting, the meeting is usually so magical and really bizarre. Like you were not supposed to be in the space that you were in when you were there, and that person was not supposed to be there with you. And all of a sudden you meet, and when eye contact is made, it is cosmic. The reaction that happens within your earth suit, okay? And there is an initiation that happens energetically, and that begins the initiation. So right off the bat, your neighbor is not your twin flame, okay? And your ex-best friend's ex-husband is not your twin flame, okay? So just so you know, it is so cosmic. Yes, Lisa, thank you. So a lot of people think that. Now, I have had, can you have twin parents? You can. So it is, I've read different decks where they said like Osiris and Isis were actually twin flames, but they were brother and sister. And then I've seen other ones where it said Isis and Horus were twin flames. And I don't know so much that I believe that because they were birthed together. So what's so spectacular and cosmic about that meeting? I don't know. They came through the same vagina. But your parents definitely could be. And what kind of effect could that have on you growing up in a tumultuous household? I don't know. And probably huge awareness, because there's the spirituality that helps them progress, because it is a very sacred spiritual connection, and the initiation brings them into their spiritual path. So if you were not spiritual before the initiation happens, you most definitely will be after, okay? Now, I will describe to you a meeting that I had, and I did not believe that I had a twin flame prior to this meeting, but thought possibly, because it was so bizarre. But I was sitting on my couch and I saw someone pass through my front window. So my front yard is actually a courtyard. So in order for someone to be passing through my front window, they have to actually come fully into my courtyard. And for those who have actually visited my home, know that my house is like Fort Knox energetically. Like, people don't just come into my property without expressed invitation. And so, and I actually, the protection that I have on my property, they can become confused. So I don't get solicitors at my door, okay? Let's just put that out there. Anyhow, I went and I said, "Can I help you?" And he said, "I am here to give you an estimate on your trees." Now, I did need my trees cut. Had I called anyone? No, I had not. And I was like, that's interesting. So I literally had asked this man at least 5 times, like, who sent you? And he had said, my landlord. I do not have a landlord. So I was thinking, this man is in the wrong house. Or is he? And I'm talking to him, and then I was like having like vomit of the soul, just telling him everything. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm telling this man all my business. And right before he left, he turned, and that's when we made eye contact. Literally felt like I was struck by lightning, and knocked the wind out of me. And he said, "So how is my energy?" And I was like, "You're good." And I shut the door in his face. I'm not lying. And he left. And so it was months before he called again, said he had left that company. So he was no longer working for that company, and asked if my trees had been cut. And I told him yes, that I ended up hiring someone to cut my trees. And in that conversation, the two of us on the phone, I was so mad because I thought I was being psychically attacked. Both had multiple orgasms just talking on the phone. Now, is that bizarre? Yes. Was it twin flame connection? Not quite invested in that, but that's the type of energy that would definitely occur with a twin flame. I never saw him again. He thought I was a witch. Or still probably thinks I'm a witch. But that happened in 2017. Never heard from him again. Am I missing him? No. So twin flame energy will have like almost this attachment energy and longing when they separate. And there is a running behavior that happens. And those who actually have twin flames like Lisa, she fully understands that whole process. Like you have to work on yourself because you are the half of the whole. So that's what actually brings that partner closer to you, not the actually pining for that person. So anyhow, I just wanted to touch on that a little bit because there are those like psychics out there that profess twin flame energy all the time, and it's just not right. Soulmates also are not actually always a romantic partner. Like I have a soulmate that's actually a soul sister. And soulmates are actually someone that comes, we made an agreement to come into our lives together. It's a really easy relationship, so much so, but you're both constantly helping each other grow. It's more of a support. And it's a beautiful relationship, super easy though. Like even in disagreement, there's growth and it's so healing. That's soulmate connection, okay? And it's not necessarily romantic. Yes, it's a lifetime commitment. Thank you, Lisa. And twin flames are a lifetime commitment. But there is that running that will happen because it's scary, right? So I also pull a rune for myself. Today's rune is Dagas. Dagas represents the day, and it talks about ascension. But it also talks about the burst of light in the darkness. And I love that because that aligns with, am I missing something? So the Labradorite and also Haniel showing up for the 4th day in a row. Dagas is also an affirmation, like you're going to get the burst of light in the darkness. And I love that it said that, like that's the exact sentence, because the void work that I've been doing is deep, dark work. And so the burst of light, that's going to be the clarity that I've been really hoping for. So I love that that showed up. And yes, my emotions are running high from my moon deck today. The super moon card, which is true because, and I had talked about the energies that I'm still dealing with my daughter and my mom, and we're coming up on Mother's Day. But I was inspired to be more truthful with my mom. So I sent her a Mother's Day card. And so every Mother's Day card is like, you're such a good mom and you were so loving. And I was like, there's no card that actually says you were a shitty mom and you neglected me. And look how good I turned out despite that. There's no cards like that. And there's no cards that are like, you're a judgmental asshole. And look at the damage that you created, but look at the beautiful resilience that I've created for myself out of that. So not to be an asshole, but anyway, because I kind of am being an asshole. But I did tell her, because I sent her a very loving Mother's Day card, but I wrote there, I said, because of how you love me, because really they love at their own level, and it is love. I guess she would consider it love. I said, because of the way you love, I learned how to love myself better. Because of the way you loved, I have been fiercely independent. Because of the way you loved me. And I did like 5 of them. So will she understand that? I don't know. But I said it from my heart, and it was the truth, all of it. So I did that thing. Truth is truth and love is transformational. Absolutely. So will she understand it? I don't know. But I said my piece and I honored me, because I spent my whole life like coddling her. Because she is narcissistic and she's abusive, and and really on some level still wishing that she would just love me. And that's the little Sherry. And that's the work that I've been doing of late too, like that inner child work. And that's why I see that playing out between me and my daughter. And she's with her dad this week. She's 18, but she stopped by yesterday to get a shirt, and she was like, "Is the shirt clean?" And I'm like, "No, hello, like, no, fuck you, mom. Just like, where's my white shirt?" And I just looked at her and I was like, "I don't know. Check your room, check the laundry." So, and she just left. So there was nothing like, and I took a deep breath and I sent her compassion because I do love her. But is she an asshole? She can be. And so then there's this card, and I love this card. It's the 9 of Hearts, right? So 9 is the number of completion, but it says fulfillment, harmony, and protection. So the fulfillment, the protection, and the harmony. So yeah, that's the culmination of my own personal pull, and I am late for my session, so I must run. Thank you for hanging with me and sharing your most valuable commodity with me, your time and your energy. I love you. I love you. I love you. I am sorry for any misalignment or disharmony that I myself have created. Please forgive me. Thank you for this opportunity. I love you too, Lisa.